Welcome back, guys. I've got a new gun. It's not new, but it is new to me. It is a used G&G Combat Machine. More specifically, it is a CM16 Raider. So, pretty cool gun. It has this okay paint job. I actually kind of like it. But it's got a metal outer barrel, metal sight, metal rear sight, and metal buffer tube with a polymer body and a polymer rail system. And now this plastic is very good plastic. It's not like your lower end D-Boys plastic bodies or anything like that. But we're going to be putting a lot of cool parts into this gun. I'll show them to you in a little bit. But first off, let's see what it fires like. Plug our battery in. Here's semi. So as you can see, the fire rate is not the greatest, but it will do the job. The trigger response is okay, but again, it's not definitely where it's not where it could be. So if you might have noticed, the charging handle is missing, along with the dust cover and the fake bolt. So I'll probably be replacing that along with the little, I guess it would be the bolt release or the gas release. That's also missing, but as well as the bolt catch, but none of it does a whole lot on airsoft guns, at least not on this one. So it does still work fine. You could run it like this, but we are going to be fixing it up. The barrel has a little bit of wobble. I think the barrel nut's just loose. It's missing a screw on the bottom as well as in the front on the bottom of the rail too. So we're fixing this gun up, and we're going to be putting a lot of parts into it. Move that to the side. The parts we're going to be putting in it are a S&H blue 14.5 tooth piston with the first tooth already half removed, a set of SHS 12-to-1 gears, some SHS 8mm hardened steel bushings. I believe this is a ZCI version 2 and version 3 aluminum cylinder head with double O-rings, a Apex Garter MOSFET. Here's a pack of SHS shims, ZCI aluminum spring guide, and a SHS spring kit. This is just all the little tiny springs that would be in the gearbox and whatnot. So I got this just in case anything is I break anything, because the guy said that he hasn't worked on this gun in a long time. So I got that just in case we would break anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this gun apart and start installing and modding this whole gun. Let's get started. So we're going to start taking this gun apart. Sorry if my voice does sound a little different. I do have a little bit of a cold, so just a heads up on that. Pop our body pins out. Now this front body pin won't come out the whole way because it has a little I'm not sure what it is, a little notch or something to keep it from coming out the whole way. That way you don't lose it. So the back one does, however, come out the whole way. Slide your upper receiver off, just like that. Now let's take a look at the hop-up and barrel assembly. It is quite tight in there. I do believe it needs a little work, but if you'll notice, this is not the stock barrel. This is actually a Mad Bull Python type bore, which is really cool. I didn't know this gun was coming with it in. But a very nice addition. A metal hop-up chamber, which I believe is stock, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, very nice barrel. So we'll just stick this back in the upper receiver, and we'll work on that later. Now for the lower receiver, just pop the motor plate off. I already took the screws out of that. Unplug the wiring. The wiring is a lot thinner than I expected and a lot thinner than most guns, but we'll be replacing it with the MOSFET, so that won't be a big deal. Dump your motor out. This is just a stock motor. It's not real torquey and the magnets aren't real good, but I do have another motor that we could use, so it has a lot more torque and a lot better magnets, but we'll try this one. Set that to the side. Our stock, just pull back on it. Comes right off. The buffer tube, yes, it does have a big screw down here. This is a metal buffer tube, which is pretty cool in my opinion. So let's start taking this stuff off. we go. Buffer tube's loose. Pop that off. Dump your pin and plate out the back. If it wants to come out. You can just unplug it here. There's some spade connectors that make it very easy to disassemble. Another thing about this gun, it already has a aluminum sling mount on it, so not all guns have that. It's kind of cool. So here's our lower receiver. Let's take the pistol grip off. Pistol grip should come right off. There we go. As far as I know, this gun is stock, other than the fact that it might have a M100 in it. That's what the guy said he put in it, but from what I gather, he said it's probably shooting a lot lower than what the M100 is, which is fine, because we're going to probably begin to use this for CQB, and then later we'll probably be putting an M120 or so in it, and boosting the FPS to around 420. So let's take off the mag catch here. The mag catch is a little sticky. I'm not sure what that is, why that is. It is metal, but I think, yeah, if you notice, this spring is a lot smaller than most are, so I'm wondering if that's not the problem. Go ahead and put this back together so we don't lose it. Lay that to the side. The gearbox should have a pin in it, which should pop out from this side. Here we go. Let's pop that out. And your gearbox should come out. Pull forward, not at the same time. Pops right out. Now this body is a lot better than a lot of plastic bodies, and that's partly due because this is not plastic. This is actually polymer, and a lot of cheaper guns will say they're polymer, but they're actually not true polymer. This is a true polymer body, and I know that G&D's plastic is actually very good plastic. So if you're looking to replace your plastic body with a plastic one, definitely go with G&G. So a couple things you'll notice is the cylinder is stock. It's a stock aluminum blue one. It's got copper bushings. It's pretty much all, other than the screws are on the wrong side of the gearbox. I'm not sure what up with that, but that's just how these G&G gearboxes are. So I wish they were on the regular side, that way you wouldn't have to flip them over every time you go to split them, but just personal preference. So let's take a look inside and see what's going on and clean it up, install our new parts. Alright, here's our gearbox. Let's go ahead and take that apart. I believe it's a 2mm Allen key. Yep. Yeah, maybe it is too. Yep, it is too. Go ahead and remove all the screws. One thing you may notice at the front of the cylinder is the gearbox has already been radiused. I know this gun has been worked on by a tech before, but yeah, we'll check if that's stock or if that was done by somebody else. Should be able to tell because of the coating on the outside of the gearbox is usually painted. These gearboxes are usually painted, so when someone radiuses it, it'll be shiny bare metal there. I do like, for one thing, how neat the wiring is coming out of the back. Usually it's just two wires coming out and they get caught and then chewed up by the buffer tube, but not this one. So all your screws aside, hold the gearbox together, flip it over, and stick a screwdriver in the back. Hold the spring down, go ahead and pop it, and hopefully nothing goes flying. Take a look inside. So here's the gearbox. Copper bushings, or yeah, they are copper. Just pop this little tap spring off, drain its attention. Stock aluminum cylinder. One thing I did notice is the port is down here. Usually you like to turn that to the side to make sure to get as much air as possible. I'll start with the back, and the spring guide is just a standard metal spring guide. There's no bearings on it, so that's almost a bad thing because the spring, as it's going in and out, it wants to twist, and if it twists and it can't unravel, then after a while it'll build up so much tension it'll just snap your spring. So we will be replacing it with a ZCI piston. Here's our spring. does feel like an M100, a lot lighter than what's stock, but we'll probably be putting that back in. Our piston is a stock piston with one metal tooth. We will be putting this SHS piston in, but we will be using the cylinder head with these, I don't know, swirly looking ports or something. So we'll be using that again. Our cylinder. We will be using the cylinder again, which looks to be in fairly decent condition. It does have this weird slimy grease, old grease, very old, all over it. Here's the stock cylinder head, just polymer cylinder head with a brass tube on the front. Those are usually not real good because what happens is it starts leaking around this brass tube. Tappet plate feels okay. We're going to be using it again. Here's the stock air nozzle. We'll probably be using it again. And there is no inner O-ring on it, so we will probably be replacing this in the future. Don't forget your tappet spring. Your gears. Here's the sector gear. These do look like the stock gears. Not much to look at other than the very dirty grease on them. We got the bevel gear. Not a bad looking bevel gear. Anti-reverse latch is very thick. The hood doesn't look like it's going to break it on you anytime soon. The spur gear, as you can see, it's sort of shiny around the edge, and that might be due to the bevel gear not being shimmed correctly, scraping the finish off. Trigger contacts we will be using again, but we will be putting in a MOSFET. Trigger pops out, just a standard metal trigger. Everything else looks fairly good. You got a metal safety latch there. Contacts look pretty clean on the trigger. We will be cleaning them up there. They have a little grease on them. And then this selector plate in the back looks just like a normal selector plate. So I'm going to take all the rest of the parts out. There's not much to look at. They're all stock parts, and we'll clean this thing up real good, and then we will get to working on it. The radiusing of the front of the cylinder, or front of the gearbox, does look like it came that way from factory, so that was not done by tech. So that's kind of cool that they do that right from the factory, so you don't have to. But like I said, we'll clean this up, then we'll get to installing the new part.